So now I'm going to talk to you about terms that you're going to hear when you're talking about insurance. Okay, so allowed charge, that is the amount that we're allowed to charge for a procedure. Contracted fee schedule, that's a fee for, or a dentist in the network that agreed to accept. A fee the dentist in a network, the PPO, agreed to accept. The effective date, that's the day the patient became eligible for insurance. The deductible, it's the amount the patient pays before the insurance will. So if I go to the dentist and I have a $50 deductible, I'm going to pay $50, then the insurance is going to kick in and pay their part. The maximum is the maximum amount the insurance will pay in a year. Every insurance has a maximum, pretty much. Some of the higher level ones don't. Typically, the maximum is going to be something like $1,000 or $1,500. So the insurance is going to pay up to $1,000 or $1,500, and then they're not going to pay any additional for the patient that year. Missing tooth clause, that is when a patient comes to an insurance and they're already missing a tooth, then the insurance company is saying they're not going to pay for anything else for that tooth because the patient came with that missing tooth. It's kind of like a pre-existing clause in medical, okay? Policyholder, that's the person who is the one who gets the insurance. So that's the person who works for the company. So maybe dad works for Costco. He is the policyholder. And then the children and the wife are the dependents, okay? Termination date is when the patient no longer has insurance. So the effective date's when it started. Termination date is when it ends. And then the waiting period is the time that we're going to wait for the insurance, the time the insurance is going to make you wait before they'll pay for something. So some insurances may say, you have insurance now for certain things, but we won't pay for other things for the first year or the first 6 months. These are all the things that could get you in trouble when you're calling on insurance. So what we do in the dental office is we verify, I'm going to back this up a minute, we verify benefits a lot of times. What we do is we call to find out from these insurance companies about this plan, what kind of insurance does the patient have? What kind of coverage do they have? And these are some of the words that you're going to hear that can really make a difference, because if you tell a patient that they can get a crown, like the insurance is going to cover a crown, not that they can get it, but the insurance is going to cover a crown, but then you find out later that they had a 1-year waiting period and the patient's only had that insurance for 6 months, the insurance isn't going to pay for that. If you tell them that they're going to pay for an implant, but there's a missing tooth clause and they didn't have that tooth when they got the insurance is not going to cover it. If you don't check the insurance and the patient comes in to get their cleaning, but we were terminated, they have a termination date, that means they no longer have insurance. So when verifying benefits or when talking about insurance, this is why these words and a lot of what I'm teaching you is important to know, okay? Now, in the New to Dental workbook, there's 3 times as many words as these, okay? 3 times as many definitions. So go through them all and make sure you clearly understand them. And make sure if you don't, you go online, you look it up, you talk to somebody else, you really understand what you're talking about. Because again, bad information in is bad information out, and that's not good for our patients, okay? It's not good for our practice, not good for us. So when we do dentistry, in order to submit to the insurance company that we've done the dentistry and that we want the patient to get their reimbursement or to get paid, or we want to get paid, we send in a claim form. So a claim is the formal payment request to the from your dental care provider, from the dental office, to the insurance company, okay? Most of the time now, claim forms are sent electronically. So you won't see a claim form going out. You won't see, we used to do it in the mail and we used to highlight things and all of that. You don't see that anymore. Now we do it electronically, okay? But it gets sent out typically, or should get sent out at the end of the day or the next day after procedures are done, okay? If you're going to be working in the back, or you've heard people talk about, I need the notes put in, I need information on what we did, it's because we can't submit the claim unless we have the right information to send the claim in to get paid, okay? The EOB is the explanation of benefits, and that's commonly referred to as an EOB. And it's the statement that the insurance company sends to the patient and to the dental or medical office to talk or to outline what they're going to pay for from the claim that we sent in. So the EOB goes to the patient, and the EOB comes to us. Many times the EOB goes to the patient a day or two before it comes to us. So sometimes you get a phone call from a patient who's upset about something and we haven't even received the EOB yet, okay? So just understanding that the EOB will help explain what the payment is and that this information gets entered into the practice management software, and then it kicks out whether or not there's a balance for the patient on the back end, all right? Sometimes now the EOBs don't even get sent in the mail. They come to us electronically. Sometimes the checks don't even get sent in the mail. Sometimes the checks get put into our bank account electronically. So every insurance company is different. The other thing I can tell you is that EOBs and claim forms always look the same. We use a certain claim form, an ADA claim form, American Dental Association claim form, to submit to all the insurance companies. But insurance EOBs come back and everyone looks a little bit different. So reading an EOB can be like reading like hieroglyphics or something, because they're all different and you have to know the words and the terminology that they use on the EOB. Predetermination of benefits, that is basically where we submit something to the insurance to say, hey, this is what the patient needs. Will you pay towards that treatment? It's slightly different than a claim because it's done before the treatment's done, and it basically will tell us what the insurance potentially will cover. Now, I'm not a huge fan of predeterminations or pre-authorizations. I have a whole nother lesson on that, so if you're the insurance coordinator or if you have somebody in your office who loves them, they can come watch that course. But here's the thing about it. When we submit a pre-authorization to the insurance company and they kick back and they say, okay, here's what we're estimating we will pay, there's a little disclaimer on the bottom that says, this is not a guarantee of payment. So it doesn't guarantee the insurance is going to pay it. It just says, if all of the stars align, this is what we would cover, okay? So be very careful. Sometimes offices tend to become insurance driven and they use this as a crutch, and they just send these in versus actually at the end of the day, whether the insurance covers it or not, does the patient need the treatment? Yes, okay? Now, let's break down the coverage and verifying the benefits. What are we doing when we do this? So whenever a new patient comes in the practice, or on a regular basis, depending on your practice, you're going to call and verify insurance, or somebody's going to verify insurance. Sometimes we could do it online. Sometimes we do have to do it on the phone. Again, every insurance is different, so it just depends on your practice. But what are we listening for? We're calling to see, can we find out the maximums? What are the deductibles? What are the wait times? What are the frequency? And I'm going to go through all these. What are the things that we need to look for so that when we talk to our patients about the treatment they need, we have all of the issues, okay? Here's a breakdown. This is one that I have on Front Office Rocks. You may have a different one in your office, but it's just basically going through all the questions that are important for your practice as to what are they going to pay, and is there deductible, and is there a waiting period? And then if you do special things like implants or whatever, does the insurance cover it? Okay, so you're going to have some sort of a form, and it's going to lead you through this. What percentage do they pay for each one of these categories? So insurances typically pay a percentage towards something. Typically, it's 100%, typically, not all of them. Typically 100% towards cleanings and preventative, which I'll go over. Typically, it's 80% towards basic things like a filling, which I'll go over. Typically, it's 50% towards major work like a crown, which I'll go over. That's typical. That is not 100% across the board. So what we need to do is we need to call and we need to find out what are the percentages, or we need to look online, what are the percentages they're going to cover. Remember though, there's still fee schedules. So if you're in network, it's a percentage of the amount that you've agreed to pay. And remember that they have clauses like waiting periods and missing tooth clause, okay?